In the US now, we have about 8 or 9 different design studios. Now, each studio is about anywhere between 50 to 100 people. And those people are divided between user experience design, visual design, front-end engineers, app engineers, project managers, quality assurance engineers. And even across the world, in India, we've got similar studios in Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, and a bunch of other countries, a few European countries. We've got South Africa. We've also got Canada now. We are expanding to a lot of other places as well. So I'd say just Deloitte Digital as a agency type practice is probably at least a few thousand people across 40, 50 design studios worldwide now. Let's say we're building an app for someone. There would be a functional team on the ground that would be talking to the client and trying to gather all of the requirements and everything that would essentially feed into what we might be doing. Then there's also the user experience design team, which I'm a part of, and I would also be there up front trying to gather some of the requirements, interviewing the right stakeholders, trying to understand business requirements and all of that. And at the same time, doing workshops, talking to actual users, trying to create what their persona, what their journey might be, and essentially building up a whole groundwork, understanding of what the problem statement is and what the end user of the system might want. And once we have all of that, that's when we would get into the actual design phase. And I would do the wireframes and the blueprints and all those designs first. And then that's what would eventually influence what the technical requirements are. And those two would then get passed on to the engineers to build. And then the cycle continues in an agile manner as we, try to build more and more into the system. And then eventually we launch. You could pretty much define whatever route you want. Most of these companies are pretty fluid in terms of once you are senior-ish after 5-7 years in the industry, you can pretty much pick what side you want to go and you can keep switching in between. But at the entry level, it's pretty much the same for the first 2 or 3 levels. You're going to be a strong individual contributor. You're going to get tasks assigned to you. You're going to do a good job at them. And then based on a lot of other things that you do on the side, that's what's going to help you rise up. And then you can pick whether you want to go the more management, less skill and design route, or the strong design, or I want to stick to my craft kind of route. I don't want to manage people route. So you have both those options. It's not going to be as many as software engineers. And the challenge is not finding open opportunities. The challenge is making sure you are the right fit for that particular role. And that's where your portfolio and your work experience and your projects and all come in. You really need to evaluate the whole package before you decide what you want to do. For example, with Deloitte, our pay is probably, I'd say, 10 to 20% less than what an Amazon or Microsoft might give. But in my opinion, our benefits are a lot better. My work-life balance is probably a little better than what some of my friends there have. And I also get 6 weeks of paid leave, unlike 3 weeks over there. So you need to figure out which one makes more sense for you, because the straightforward answer is not always going to be which company pays the most money. There are only 85,000 visas available, right? And 20,000 of those are reserved for people with a master's degree. And the number of applicants each year is well above 200,000. What that essentially means is that this becomes a lottery, and you have roughly a 1 in 3 chance of getting the visa. Make sure you have a plan B that you can rely on in case your H-1B does not work out. Because a lot of employers are also now restricting the number of people they hire on visas, because it adds a lot of overhead to their books in terms of processing time. It really depends when you're applying, so it's kind of hard to forecast 2 years from now, 3 years from now, where things are going to be. But at least historically, or going by our track record, the short answer is yes, but it depends. I don't bring any work home. I don't work over the weekends, and that expectation is also not there. So beyond the core 8 hours of work or so, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want. And then the benefits are great. I just said we have 6 weeks of paid leave. And it really adds to a pretty solid work-life balance, which is kind of why I've hung around for 5 years, because the people are awesome. The work isn't that crazy and the benefits are great. make sure you're talking about the process, make sure you're talking about what deliverables, what kind of a team structure you had, and all of those things. The final outcome is obviously important, but that's probably the least important thing and could be like lower down the order. There is no right or wrong approach to like, hey, here are 5 rules on what you should do in a portfolio and all. Not really. It kind of really depends on who you are, what kind of work you've done, and just Google around. Look at the more portfolios of people you see, the better idea you're going to get on what people are doing. And remember, user experience design portfolios, not visual design or graphic design. Most of the internship positions open up in February, March, April for internships that begin in May or June. So there's really nothing you could be doing right now. No employer is going to put up an internship posting for next summer right now. But what you can be doing actually though is build up the network, like I said, because then when the right time does come, you can start reaching out to your network and, hey, I'm looking for an internship. Do you have something? Do you know someone?